You're listening to Zoom the TBT with Charge and Hayner.
Hey guys, Charge Hayner presents Zoom the TBT, and our guest real quick here is Nima Omidvar, the head coach of Maryland Shell Shock. How you doing today, man?
Andrew, I'm doing awesome. Thanks for having me.
Thanks for coming on. Really excited. It's one of my favorite first-year teams. I think Maryland's a really fun school. I actually used to live in the DMV when I was a kid for a little bit. I know how Maryland basketball at its heights. So why don't you tell us how the team Shell Shock came together? Maybe some players that will be really influential in the squad.
Yeah, so the team came together over the course of the last couple of years, to be honest. When I was still coaching at the University of Maryland, I remember getting a call from somebody from TBT when I was the director of operations, saying, "Hey, would you be willing to help get a squad together?" And I remember thinking, "No, I have other things to do. I'm not absolutely not. What is this TBT you talk of?" And then you watch the game, and I remember it perfectly. I was at the Starboard in Dewey Beach, Delaware. It's dead of the summer, having a beer. It's on TV. It's like, damn, that tournament is kind of cool. It's like, oh, those guys are playing. I had former players that were playing that I coached at AAU, guys like Raphael Putney. And so you start watching more and more, and you're like, it's pretty cool. Well, fast forward a couple more years, and there's some Maryland alums that are working in the quote unquote front office of TBT, if you will. And they reached out to Andrew Terrell, and, these conversations just kind of snowballed into the birth of Shell Shock TBT.
Love it. That's actually a pretty good story. I love the initial reaction to, like, what the hell is this? That's everybody's initial reaction to TBT. Yeah. Once you see it, it's amazing. But just getting it in front of people's eyeballs is always pretty funny. Now, talking about TBT, obviously, it's an interesting event in the sense it's a knockout thing. It's very similar to March Madness. The teams are playing one and done. So with that, first of all, what kind of style can we expect from the TBT team? I know Maryland's always known for some tough-nosed ball. I mean, DMV guys are always really hard players to play against, but also you have a limited amount of time to put in a package. So what style of play will both be good with the players you have in the culture of Maryland basketball, while also respecting the limited amount of time the TBT team has to congeal?
Yeah. When you bring this type of atmosphere together, first of all, these guys are pros, and you want to give them leeway to be great players. So we're not trying to overcoach in any way. I watch all of our former players, their highlights, live games if I can. Us coaches were basketball addicts. We wake up in the middle of the night, can't sleep, and you go watch a game in China or something over in Turkey, and you watch and you see a move like, oh yeah, we taught you that, or hey, that action right there was a play that we used to run. So there'll be some carryover from some of the things that we did together as a group. We do have some non-Terps on this team, and obviously they're going to have to get caught up to speed. But at the end of the day, everybody in this tournament is a professional basketball player. The number one thing is they got to quickly learn the team's language and get on the same page. Once you do that, it really opens up a lot of possibilities. I'm not going to give away too much of what we're going to do, because I'm very interested in winning this whole thing, and I certainly don't want to stub our toe in our first game. But we are going to be different in how we approach it, and we want to attack it that way. That gives us an advantage. So fans are just going to have to tune in on July 25th at 4 p.m. and find out how we're going to play.
And speaking of that first round matchup, I mean, it's against the Gataverse team that looks really solid. Some Big Ten SEC action, two of the premier conferences in college basketball will be representing that game. But look at this entire bracket. It's a great mix of alumni. Now, alumni, it's you guys, Gataverse, the Ville. People who are long-term listeners and fan show know that I hate Louisville in all possible forms. Actually, I have a bounty on them. Whoever beats them gets a bottle of whiskey. So if they get to you, maybe you can get it.
We'll do that.
Yeah, there you go. Done. Someone's got to knock these guys off. But also some non-alumni teams like Everline Drive, Jackson, Tennessee, Gutter Cat Gang, long-term wonderful teams. So that first game's a bear, but I assume after that gets no easier. Have you started scouting all the teams in the bracket, or are you just trying to try this one game at a time?
Well, as coaches, we have scouted every team already, and when NCAA tournament, I've been part of 7 of them. You get announced on Sunday, and you're flying on Tuesday. You got to guess who you're going to play, and you know you kind of get to that science. But having that experience of preparing for an NCAA tournament, got a real good feel of like, all right, this is what we have to do, and getting ready. So we've done personnel scout on every single available name on the rosters, and we'll add more information as it comes available. We all have our crafty ways of figuring out stuff. Obviously, Matt McCall is going to be coaching the team. I'm familiar with him, playing against him at UMass while I was at GW and Fordham. And, you know, he's not familiar with me. He's never seen me as a head coach unless he goes all the way back to my AAU days from Team Takeover, which I don't know how much of those plays we're going to carry over. So Matt probably wasn't jotting those down. At the end of the day, again, it don't matter when you guys, the 5 guys that are on the floor are going to be the ones that have to make those plays. But we have prepared. I will say this, Andrew, Louisville is the city that many of our Terps ended their college careers. Okay, we lost in the Sweet 16 to Kansas. So we've got something to prove in that town, and we're excited to, you know, to take care of business in Louisville.
It's always interesting when you mention that last thing, because like it's tough to find, because there's so many regions where region goes to. I didn't make the connection, but you're right. I mean, having lost in Louisville gives you some sort of unfinished business there. Okay, last question real quick. That was a great answer on that last one. First year TBT teams have and this is a tough one, have a very spotty tournament record. It's a very difficult thing to get used to, and even great teams, and you have a very loaded roster, struggle that. How do you plan on overcoming the first year curse that most TBT teams face?
Yeah, so you know, one of the players that we added on our squad that is a non-Maryland member is Maurice Creek.
Yeah.
And fans will remember him from last season, making the Elam ending shot, sending his team to the championship. Mo played for me in AAU back in high school. I've known Mo since he was a sophomore in high school. So I've been watching every single one of his TBT games, but he's been great in terms of talking to our guys about what TBT is all about. On YouTube, you can find the Boeheim's Army versus Team 23, I believe it was, championship game from a couple years ago. So we put that in our group chat, and I just told guys, hey, watch this, because this is a different sport. This ain't basketball. This is an absolute MMA fight with a basketball involved in it. Fouls are different. You know, you have to adjust to that, and you have to understand that. So, you know, you're not going to see us pouting and complaining about, you know, missed calls and things of that nature. That's not what you have a time to do here. This is not a marathon. It is a sprint. You know, in basketball, a lot of times you might hear the complete opposite, but this is a sprint. You have to really compete. Every single possession matters. The games are even shorter than a college regulation game, and most certainly pro. So with knowing that, the value of each possession is that much more important. Well, that knowledge, will that help us in our first year? No way of knowing until we get out there. But you know, we've all competed at a high level, and we all understand what it takes to win a basketball game that is competitive. They want to win. We want to win. I mean, it's going to be coming down to the buzzer shot. We all know that. And actually, it's not going to be a buzzer shot. It's going to be an Elam ending shot. And so we just have to, you know, be prepared to manage that.
That's a perfect answer. Really look forward to seeing you guys in Louisville. And again, like, hopefully you guys can get that bounty off me for knocking out the Louisville team, because God, I hate them. Anyway,
we're looking forward to taking your bottle of whiskey.
There we go. There we go.
My bad, bourbon.
Whatever, you know, it's we can talk about what kind. Okay, Coach Omidvar, thank you so much for coming on. Really loved having you on.
Our pleasure. Go Shell Shock.
Hope you enjoyed listening to Zoom the TBT with Charge and Hainer. Subscribe to YouTube, follow on Twitter, and give us your money.